Today I'm going to meet one of my successful alumni. Actually is the co-founder of a technology company named SwiftKey. Actually, but that was acquired by Microsoft in 2016. One of the meaningful things is that they have developed kind of a language system to help Stephen Hawking, that famous physicist, to type and speak. So we're gonna talk something with him. Stay tuned.
Hi, Christoph.
Hello,
How are you?
Ben.
I'm good, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, is that okay? I briefly talk to you. It's about something about your project, what you're doing, and and just to give some suggestions to the young people or something like that. So first of all, could we have your background? Just what about your major or your subject?
So I studied computer science in Durham, and then went on to study applied NLP in Cambridge for a master's and then a PhD, focusing on the use of applied AI. It's about how you do sort of useful things with human languages, but using machine learning, using AI.
Okay. So, and right now, what is your company doing and what is the portfolio?
So right now, I don't have a company. I sold my company to Microsoft back in 2016. But we were a company that built software for typing, helping people to type on smartphones. We were called SwiftKey.
Okay, so back to that, how do you make profit by those profit portfolio?
So we sold licenses to our text prediction software to big companies who built mobile phones. And we also sold apps through the App Store to people who wanted to replace their keyboard.
Okay, so it's kind of a technology license. Said someone have to pay the service fee, something like that.
Yeah, somebody would. So a big company like Samsung, for instance, would have used our software in their phones, and then they'd pay a license fee in order to do that.
Okay, based on what I know, so you just start the project based in 2008, right? So how did you
Right.
raise that idea to just invent the software? Why?
Well, so the company was founded really by two people, by me and a friend, and my friend had recognized people struggling to type on smartphones. And that's really where the idea came from originally. And then we thought that we could apply the research that I'd done in my PhD to make this problem better.
Oh, that's good. So, and back to that, back then, what is the head start? Is there any kind of some competitors that someone also inventing such software?
Yeah, so we had competitors for sure. But at the time they were mostly what we would call legacy providers. So they had built their software primarily for feature phones. And what we did was to recognize that in a world of touchscreen phones with quite significant computational resources in the phone, you could do something that was more powerful than had been done previously.
Okay. So is that one of the specific characteristic of your software is to predict something, right?
That's
So
correct. Yeah.
is there something about the AI? But actually AI back to in 2008 is not that popular. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, so we were using language models. So people will nowadays are familiar with large language models,
Yes.
things like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So the technology that we were using was a forerunner to this. So we were kind of part of the journey of bringing language model technology to the mass market. We're using similar techniques to the techniques that people use today, but scaled down in a much smaller way because we had to fit these models on phones. So they were very sort of tiny versions of the large language models that you see today.
Okay, so first of all, in the beginning, how did you build your team?
In the early days, we used our networks of friends and contacts, people that we knew from places that we'd worked or from university, and we persuaded them to come and join us. And then, that probably took us to 10 or 15 people in the company. And then after that, we started recruiting from wider circles. So we would go out and talk at recruitment fairs, or we'd use recruitment agents to grow the company after that point. But we started really with our own networks.
So what is the most important ability, do you think, when you just recruit someone?
Of course, it depends on what role you want to recruit them for. So they need to have the right kind of skills. If you want a software developer, then
Yeah.
they need to be a strong coder. If you want somebody for marketing, they need to understand how to communicate effectively. But then in general, I think you are really looking for people who fit the culture of your company. And that's often not necessarily an easy thing to spot.
Good team. So for you that and for your company, just when you grow up, when you develop, so another big problem is that how you raise the funding. So I do know that you do raise 15,000 pounds from the grant of the government, right?
Yeah, that was right at the start. We got a grant, which was really helpful. And then we went through various funding rounds. So we started with what's called a family and friends round. So this is people that we knew, who believed in what we were doing and put in a small amount of money. And then after a while, you have enough evidence to go to a VC, for instance, and get institutional funding. So we did that. And then as we needed more money to keep growing, we went to different venture capital firms to bring them on board. So we went through probably 4 or 5 rounds of funding across the journey of the company.
So till now, so actually, are you still the CTO of SwiftKey in Microsoft?
No, so I left Microsoft back in
Okay.
2000.
Okay. So you just sell it to Microsoft.
Yeah, so I worked for Microsoft for about 2 years, integrating the company into Microsoft, but then I left after that. But
Okay.
the SwiftKey is still running within Microsoft for sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So what do you think is the biggest challenge you have ever encountered? How you navigate that?
I don't know what I would say is the biggest challenge, but I think when you're growing a company, a lot of the challenges that you face are around how to recruit the right people
Yeah.
and how to help those people to work. So I think I always felt like probably the biggest challenges that we had were around how to create the right environment for people to be able to do their best work. And as the company grows, that's a challenge. As founders, you need to make sure that people know what the strategy is, that they have a clear idea on where the company's going. They need to have a clear idea on how decisions are made.
Yeah, it's a quite good thing. And how do you think, because you just sell it to Microsoft, and what kind of impact?
Well, selling the company was a massive impact. I think what was good was that Microsoft were wanting to continue developing the software. So a lot of people were able to continue working on it. But of course, things change a lot after you're acquired. So it's a huge impact.
So another event that I noticed from the internet is that you have helped to build a kind of a language system for the Stephen Hawking, right? Yeah, so could you just tell me something about that?
Yeah, so we had a chance to work with Stephen Hawking to use the language model technology that we had built for our predictive typing software to help him to be able to input text more rapidly. What we did was to train our models on his text, whether it's from books or from blog posts or scientific papers. And that just helped him to be able to get his thoughts into language form more quickly and with less effort. So it was a great project, and of course, a real honor to work with somebody who has had such an impact in the scientific community.
So it seems that you have invented another kind of assistive system for some non-noble persons.
Yeah. But it was clear to us that we could use the similar technology for helping the mass market to type to help people with more specific challenges.
So last of all, what do you think is because right now there's a lot of people because it's really competitive. Someone just want to start their own business. So do you have any suggestions for those people that want to start a business?
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you when you found a startup, you can't guarantee that it's going to pan out. Of course, there's
Yeah.
always competition, and in many ways, the odds are always against you. But I think there are some things that you can work on to give yourself the best chance. And the first one is to make sure that the problem you're focusing on is a real problem. So oftentimes we think that we've identified a problem, and then it turns out that actually it's not as big a problem as we thought it was, or it's a problem, only for a small number of people. So I think the first most important thing is to make sure that you test the problem that you think you're addressing and make sure that it is a real problem. And then I think the second thing is to make sure that there is a business model associated with a solution to that problem. So you need to make sure that it's a real problem and that the market is there to be able to commercialize your solution to that problem.
Yeah, because right now I think the biggest problem for those startup teams because it's really easy to find an idea, but actually it's quite hard for you, quite difficult for you to apply this theory, this idea into practice to make them being the business. So it's quite hard for them to do that.
That's right. Yeah, it is for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much about because I'm really what you've done and what about the keyboard or the assistive system. I think it's quite meaningful. And thank you so much for accepting our interview.
Nice to chat to you.
Yeah, have a
No
good
problem.
day. Yeah,
All right.
thank you. Bye bye.